Before we begin, I need you to do something right now, because this story will shake you, and you won't want to miss what comes next. If you believe in justice, courage, and the kind of twists that make your heart pound, hit subscribe and stay with me until the very last word, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story. It's a descent into fear, deception, and the brutal truth about what really happened behind a locked bathroom door on a quiet American night. It started at a roadside bar just outside Virginia Beach, the kind of place where military patches cover the walls and the jukebox never seems to run out of country songs about heartbreak and home. The rain had been falling steadily, drumming against the neon-lit windows, when Emily Carter stepped inside to get out of the storm. She was 28, sharp-eyed, with the posture of someone who had learned early in life never to show fear. No one in that bar knew she had once trained alongside some of the toughest candidates in the country, that she had survived programs most men quit in the first week. They saw only a woman alone, ordering sparkling water instead of whiskey. At the back table sat 4 men, broad-shouldered, loud, half-drunk, wearing civilian clothes, but carrying themselves with the unmistakable confidence of active-duty Navy SEALs on leave. They noticed her immediately. One of them, Mason, the unofficial leader, smirked and nudged the others. "She looks lost," he muttered. They watched her for nearly 20 minutes before making their move. Mason approached first, leaning casually against the bar beside her. "You shouldn't be out alone in weather like this," he said. Emily didn't look at him. "I can handle myself." The other 3 joined, forming a loose circle. To the casual observer, it might have looked like harmless flirting. But Emily saw the shift in their eyes, the subtle tightening of space, the strategic blocking of exits. She had seen it before, in training simulations designed to test awareness. Mason suggested they continue the conversation somewhere quieter. She refused. That was when his smile faded. The bartender glanced over, sensing tension, but Mason flashed his military ID, murmuring something about just joking around. Minutes later, the jukebox blared louder, and in that distraction, they moved. One grabbed her arm, another covered her mouth. The third cleared a path toward the hallway leading to the restrooms. Patrons looked up but hesitated. 4 trained warriors versus 1 woman. The men dragged her into the women's bathroom and slammed the door. "Lock it!" someone barked. The bolt slid into place. Inside, the fluorescent lights flickered. Mason shoved her against the sink. "You think you can handle yourself?" he sneered. What none of them knew, what they hadn't bothered to notice, was the small scar near her collarbone, the quiet steadiness of her breathing, the fact that Emily Carter was not a civilian stumbling into danger. She had been part of a classified joint operations training program designed to test integration of female operatives into elite combat units. She had washed out publicly after a knee injury, or so the record said. But records lie. The truth was she had been reassigned, trained deeper, harder, in methods that relied less on brute strength and more on precision. Mason grabbed her wrists. In that instant, Emily moved. She twisted sharply, using his grip against him, slamming his head into the mirror. Glass shattered. One of the others lunged, but she drove her elbow into his throat. The bathroom exploded into chaos, boots slipping on tile, fists swinging, curses echoing. They were bigger, stronger, but they were overconfident and half-drunk. She targeted joints, throats, eyes. One man crashed into a stall door. Another gasped for air on the floor. Mason recovered quickly. He was the most skilled among them. He tackled her, and they hit the ground hard. The third man drew a knife, small, tactical. "Enough!" he shouted. For a split second, time froze. Emily's mind calculated distances, angles. She grabbed a broken shard of mirror and slashed upward, slicing the knife wielder's forearm. He screamed, dropping the blade. Mason punched her across the cheek, stars bursting in her vision. She tasted blood but smiled, a small, terrifying smile that made him hesitate. "You picked the wrong target," she whispered. Outside, patrons heard thuds, but assumed it was drunken roughhousing. Inside, the fight escalated. Mason pinned her again, but she shifted her weight, dislocating his thumb with a sickening crack. He roared. The largest of the 4, barely conscious, staggered up and charged. She ducked, guiding him headfirst into the metal hand dryer. It tore from the wall, sparks flying. Water from a broken pipe sprayed across the floor. Electricity hissed. The room smelled of ozone and blood. Mason, breathing heavily, wiped his split lip. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded. She didn't answer. Instead, she kicked the fallen knife toward the puddle near the sparking wires. One of the men, scrambling to his feet, slipped and fell directly into the electrified water. The shock convulsed him violently. The others recoiled in horror. The lights flickered again. Mason realized then that this was no ordinary woman. He made a decision. Retreat. "Unlock the door," he ordered hoarsely. But before anyone could move, sirens wailed outside. Someone had finally called 911. Panic spread across their faces. Being found in a women's restroom with a beaten woman and a knife would destroy careers. Mason lunged for the lock. Emily intercepted him, slamming his head into the tile one final time. When the police burst in moments later, they found a scene that defied logic. 3 Navy SEALs unconscious or writhing, one convulsing in shock, and a single woman standing in the center, bruised but upright, water dripping from her hair like a warrior emerging from a storm. She raised her hands calmly. "Self-defense," she said. But that wasn't the end. At the hospital, investigators struggled to reconcile witness accounts. The men claimed she attacked them without provocation, yet security footage from the hallway showed them dragging her inside. Public outrage exploded when the story. 4 elite soldiers hospitalized after bar incident. Comment sections raged. Some called her a hero. Others accused her of setting them up. Then a twist surfaced. Emily's sealed training file was quietly unsealed by someone high up the chain. It revealed commendations for hand-to-hand combat proficiency exceeding 98% of male counterparts. It revealed classified missions overseas. It revealed that she had been observing the 4 men for weeks under orders. The bar encounter had not been random. There had been whispers of misconduct among certain SEAL teams, complaints buried, settlements paid quietly. Emily had volunteered to test the rumors, but even that wasn't the final twist. 2 days later, Mason regained consciousness. In a private conversation with naval investigators, he admitted the truth. They had targeted her deliberately, assuming she was vulnerable. He confessed they had done similar things before, relying on status to avoid consequences. His admission detonated like a bomb. Careers ended. Courts-martial began. Yet the headline that stunned America came from a small detail buried in the police report. Of the 5 who entered that bathroom, only 1 walked out under her own power. The others were wheeled out on stretchers. The phrase spread across social media. Only 1 Navy SEAL walked out. It became a symbol, a warning. But for Emily, there was no celebration. Bruises darkened her ribs. Her cheek required stitches. Alone in her apartment days later, she watched the rain through her window and replayed every second. She had known the risk. She had known it might turn lethal. When the electric current surged through the water, she had calculated survival odds in microseconds. 1 misstep and she could have been the one convulsing on the tile. The Navy offered her commendation. She declined public recognition. "Just do your job," she told the officer who visited her. Yet the story refused to fade. News outlets debated women in combat roles. Politicians argued. Survivors of assault wrote letters thanking the unnamed woman who fought back. And somewhere in a rehabilitation ward, Mason stared at his bandaged hand and realized that strength without honor collapses the moment it meets someone stronger in spirit. Months later, Emily returned to training grounds, not as a trainee, but as an instructor. Recruits whispered about her before ever seeing her, about the night in the bathroom, about the 4 who underestimated the wrong person. She never confirmed details. She simply demonstrated techniques with quiet precision. "Control the environment," she would say. "Control yourself. Never assume." And every time she locked the training room door before a drill, a chill ran through those who knew the story, because they understood now that doors can trap predators. But sometimes they trap the predators with the wrong prey. So remember this. The next time you hear someone say strength has only one face, or that power belongs to those who shout the loudest, sometimes it belongs to the one who waits, who calculates, who survives. And sometimes, behind a locked bathroom door on a storm-soaked American night, it reveals itself in the most shocking way possible. When 4 elite warriors drag a woman inside, certain of dominance, and minutes later, only 1 Navy SEAL walks out.